Welcome to there's people everywhere. There's so many noises.
Yeah, there really are.
We shouldn't be walking out here. People are gonna think that we're gonna want to conversate. Shh, there's somebody here.
Love that vicious beast.
Yeah.
See? This is why we don't do campgrounds. We're okay for a little meeting up with some friends, but
too much for my brain to process.
It's over the top. We ended up here, the Las Vegas Bay Campground.
It's nice.
It's not bad. It's dry camping. It's asphalt. We ended up here because we tried to go to Boondock, a government wash, but the access to that area was absolutely terrible. Big, rocky roads, gigantic dips, and there are so many people.
It's a popular area. There's a lot to do around here. I can see why people are here.
Yeah, that makes sense. This campground is in the Lake Mead recreation area. The campground itself is dry camping, $20 a night, plenty of spots, and great proximity to
everything.
We did 3 kids mine. That mine was really cool. It was an abandoned mine. Manganese ore from 1916 to 1961. And then the federal government took it over and they used it for storage until 92, and they abandoned it. So now it's owned by the state. Who knows? Look at all the gnats. It's not exactly a safe place to go. There's like broken glass and there's trash everywhere, and
Lots
most people...
rusty metal stuff. There's open pits.
Yeah, they're big open pits.
Yeah.
It's like holes in the ground, so you really have to watch your step. I don't think a lot of people would probably go here, or they would just pass it right up, but it was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Check it out. We're at a place called 3 Kids Mine. It's one of those places you're not exactly sure if you're allowed to be, but there's not really any signs that say you can't. So this isn't an abandoned mine, but there's all kinds of like graffiti and mural spray paint stuff in some weird shapes. So we're gonna check that out. I followed some strangers. I told us there's a hole in the ground. No kidding. That's the kind of thing that's like right up our alley, the mine. If we can find more stuff like that, that's the kind of stuff that we're gonna do, and that's the kind of stuff that we want to show you. Let's see what else we did. White Owl Canyon. This was really cool because it was a trail that goes through the whole, it's a slot canyon. I don't know what the definition of a slot canyon is, but it was really narrow.
Yeah.
The water drains off in the mountains, goes straight into Lake Mead. And yeah, this was a really like magical kind of place, especially when the sun was coming in.
Yeah, it was cool. It was our first slot canyon.
Yeah.
So it was It was fun to be in there.
Yeah.
Owl Canyon, and you're supposed to be able to hike to see this cool canyon. So it's split off, it's a loop. So we walked up and we're gonna take the left because we don't want to walk the whole thing, we just want to see the canyon. So we'll see where we end up. Really easy hike down there too. What?
That first part where you go straight down and then you got to get back up it on the way out.
Oh.
We died a little bit.
Yeah, so I guess not easy. Well, once you get down off that,
Yeah.
it's like 100-foot ascent or descent down into the flat part. But then from there, it's like a 3-mile loop or something.
We didn't do the whole thing.
We didn't do the whole thing. If you, like when you get down there, if you take a left, then you can get to the canyon pretty easily in a short distance. So that was one of the coolest parts.
Historic Railroad Trail.
Oh, that was the 94-mile.
94 miles, yes. The Lake Mead Recreation Area newspaper said it was a 4.6 mile out and back.
Which doesn't make any sense because
I don't even know where they got that number from.
It's 3.3 miles from the trailhead to the point where you enter Hoover Dam.
Right.
So this trail is kind of cool because you can walk to Hoover Dam and then walk into Hoover Dam instead of driving there.
And you follow the historic railroad where the tracks used to be.
Right.
And that's how they got all of the supplies into the Hoover Dam. So it's cool to walk that path. You go through 5 tunnels.
That part was cool.
Yeah, it was.
Great views of Lake Mead.
Yeah.
But then when you get to Hoover Dam, you find like everybody.
Everybody was there. Because, I mean, obviously you can drive there too.
Yeah.
It was a little more work to hike. And it ended up being about 8 miles.
8 miles.
Out and back.
So I guess their 4.6 may have been correct because maybe 4 point whatever one way.
No, it said out and back.
Oh, out and back. So you're wrong, Lake Mead newspaper.
I don't know.
But still, it was a good hike.
It was.
Relatively flat, or so we thought. But then it turned out to be like 800
or 900 feet elevation gain. And the newspaper said it was 11 feet elevation gain. So,
nope.
Wrong on that one too.
Wrong. It was still a good hike.
It was.
If you have the time, if you have a few hours to kill, definitely recommend walking it because the tunnel part was really cool.
Yeah, at least go through the tunnels.
Yeah. And it doesn't take that long to actually walk through the tunnels.
Yeah.
You don't have to walk all the way to Hoover Dam because it was a pretty long walk. Not necessarily a hike, but a walk. But I don't remember any of the thing you just told me.
So 7 Magic Mountains.
7 Magic Mountains. That was pretty cool.
That was.
I tried to memorize his name for this video, but I failed to memorize his name. So I'll put his name up. Boop. There. But this was an art installation that was originally slated to be out there for a year. But I guess due to popular demand, or popularity rather, they decided to extend it for 3 years because it sits on BLM land. So this is like a stack of 25 boulders.
It's anywhere from 3 to, 6 or 7 high?
Yeah, 36 or 7 high, but it's a colorful contrast because they're all painted different types of colors, and it's a colorful contrast against like the barren desert.
Yeah.
And I guess it sits next to the Jean and something dry lake bed.
Oh.
And I guess historically, like that was that sand thing like that was off in the distance. It looked like a desert bed. That's the Jean and something dry lake bed, and I guess there used to be like art installations, or they would put up art installations in that barren desert. So I guess it was a good location. That's kind of why they chose the location for it. But it was cool. There was a lot of people there.
Oh my goodness, so many people.
Tons of like Instagrammers doing it for the gram. It was a cool thing to go see. I mean, it's one of those time sensitive things that you're gonna have to see now because this is the last year that it's up.
That's what they say. I mean, that's probably what they said the first year too. But it's rumored to be dismantled later this year, later in 2021.
Right. So, gets better err on the side of caution and go and see it while you can. But
the Hemenway Park today.
Oh, the bighorn sheep. That was cool.
Yeah, that was really cool.
The last bighorn sheep I think we saw were back in Glacier.
Sounds right. Where it was really cold.
But they were like really far up in the cliffs.
Yeah.
And not wanting to probably come around people. These, on the other hand, were like right
in the park.
In the park.
Like by the pavilions and the playground, and people are out on the lawn doing yoga, and people are out there with their kids, and these bighorn sheep were completely unfazed by any of it.
Screaming little kids.
They didn't
like
care.
Nothing. You could just go sit on the park, sit on the grass, watch the sheep.
Yep.
You got a view of Lake Mead in the distance. This is in Boulder City, which is the southeast of Las Vegas, out of the hustle and bustle of things. So it was a pretty cool town.
Yeah. And the sheep were cool. We had read that they would be there in the afternoons, and sure enough, we drove by a couple mornings, didn't see them, and we went by a few afternoons, and they were there every time.
So they go off to do their sheep things in the middle of the day. Probably go off to the bar, the Hollywood Theater. We did a lot of stuff this week. Well, I mostly worked during the week, which is to be expected when you still work full time, but there's a delicate balance. She had to smile like I know what they're doing. They're YouTubers.
Sorry, my face is getting burned. Can we
speed this along?
Wrap this up? Other things we did this week. The boys and I went to the Hendersen Bird Viewing Preserve. Max is our bird geek.
He's obsessed with like birds and photography.
Photography, yeah.
It's really cool.
We made it about 10 feet into the preserve, and he told me he was in his happy place. And he spent the entire time there with his camera pressed to his face, taking pictures of every bird he saw. So it was pretty cool. It was a neat stop. It's free to get in there, and then you just wander around. We put in almost 2 miles, and we didn't even walk all the way around everything.
So yeah, I guess there's like a bunch of ponds that you can walk around, and these birds, I guess, hang out there, a lot of different kinds. So
yeah, that was pretty cool.
It was cool. The sound of generators.
Generator.
Smell of gasolines. Like we said, this one has not been too bad at all. We consider it maybe a little bit of vacation because we kind of boondock all the time. That's just our thing.
Not really, because we haven't relaxed since we've been here. Every time we hear a noise, like, oh, what's that? Oh, there's someone
car
outside.
door. There's someone outside. There's someone breaking into the truck. Someone's gonna steal our poop tote.
We would do better with a bear.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, there's a bear outside.
Just
whatever. Just a bear. It's just an animal.
Yeah.
Less to worry about. Campgrounds are great. If we could stand to stay in a campground all the time, we would do it because the conveniences, you can't beat that.
Right.
Asphalt road, level spot for the most part. You got your dump, you got your water, you got everything. There's pros and cons. You're going to be right next to people. You're going to hear your next door neighbor sneeze. We just don't want that. So we boondock where we can, and then we suck it up when we can.
Right.
Then you move on.
Yep.
But that's why we move weekly. So, which brings us to tomorrow. We're off. It's the end of the week already. We're off back into southern Utah. We're going to stay in southern Utah for the next couple of weeks. We're starting to hit spring, starting to warm up. We're going to make our way north and then start trekking to the northeast for the rest of the year. I guess that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining, and we will see you next week.
Birds and generators.
The birds are chirping. It's like a picture-perfect campground setting.